Dracula has got to go. If you haven't played an NES game in a while, you'll need to readjust your relationship with movement and jumping to succeed. Castlevania is defiantly stiff. Long, fixed arc jumps, dastardly high enemy knockback ranges, and slow movement speed are defining characteristics of this first entry. But they aren't dated characteristics. Smoothness is often held as an objective good that games should be striving towards, but the rigidity of Castlevania's controls, and the challenges designed around them, offer a different, more intentional kind of pleasure. It's not just retro difficulty masturbation I'm doing here, either. Castlevania is hard but forgiving. Game overs are only a slap on the wrist, and some overpowered equipment make them less frequent than you might think. Outside of its penultimate boss, that's a steep knowledge check, this franchise starting game is approachable and simple. It's not devoid of challenge, but it escalates to its harder threats smoothly, giving you enough time to play in the kiddie pools of levels 1 and 2 before the game really shows its fangs. It's really good. One area that surprised me most is how much I enjoyed its story. Not in the sense that term usually gets thrown around in the gaming space. There's no text boxes nor chattable NPCs that tell you that Dracula needs to die, nor any explanation given for why he needs to die. Everything is answered just by looking at the game's box art. We're the guy with the whip, he's the guy with the sharp teeth, and over a century of vampires and Dracula being used as literary and pop culture villains is all the explanation we ever need. It gives Castlevania this intuitive style, one that it reinforces with its brief pre-mission cutscenes. 5-second vignettes of our hero, Simon Belmont, chasing Dracula in his bat form are the closest thing this game has to cinematics, and rather than wasting their time giving you exposition, they smartly act as scaffolding to frame the challenges you're about to face. You're not just traversing from level 1 to level 2, but from the courtyard to the ramparts, and so on. It gives our adventure a sense of place and a sense of finality. Closing the gap between you and Dracula ends when you reach the peak of the castle, a dark moonlit spire within which a two-phase showdown with the man himself occurs. You might find that your hardest challenges are traversal based instead of enemy or boss based though. Level geometry typically starts in your favor before graduating to harder designs. The first time you run into the Dragon Skull Cannon, he'll be on a slope where his projectiles fly above your head. Your second encounter with one demands you deal with those projectiles on a flat plane where they're more effective. There's also a recurring theme of enemy disrespect for floor layouts that escalates as you progress. The simple zombies that make up level 1 will rigidly walk back and forth, magnetized to whatever floor they started on. The Medusa heads of level 2 will bob up and down as they make their horizontal journey across the screen, ignoring whatever ceilings their snaky scalps would physically be running into. The hunchbacks of level 3 can jump and climb, removing the safety that used to come with getting to the high ground. It frames Simon as always being in a contest with verticality, which makes a lot of sense given the ascending natures of the levels. You can see this most dramatically with stairs. They're everywhere and they're commitments. You can't jump on or off them. You have to discreetly step onto the bottom or top of a stair, then slowly continue one by one, all the while being stuck and susceptible to whatever threats the game throws at you. Much like his iconically stiff jump, the clumsy stair traversal define the NES Castlevania feel, and as tricky and frustrating as they can sometimes be in the moment, their absence would trivialize the challenges built around them. Besides, although the prevalence of stairs and the leapers and flyers that patrol them may seem detrimental to a protagonist with a stiff jump, it really helps balance him. Jumps are a marriage because when you're not jumping, Simon's got a strong ground game. His default whip, reliably upgraded into a flail, is long range and capable of destroying projectiles. Correct placement against most enemies in the game will ensure you don't even need to dodge, just stand in front of them and attack, and you'll nullify their damage while outputting your own. Flat ground is your friend, and elevation changes are your biggest adversary. Slopes and stairs commit you to angles you don't want to be in, and the game gets increasingly vertical to up the challenge. You can match this challenge with proper equipment usage. Our protagonist may not be God, but there's no doubt they're on the same side. The most powerful sub-weapons in the game are instruments of faith. Vials of holy water and throwable crosses are destructively divine. Holy water deals damage and freezes enemies, including bosses, in their place, while the crosses can be used like a boomerang to hurt foes on the way out and the way back in. The extreme power of these sub-weapons and their role as holy equipment give Castlevania a classic hero's journey vibe. The relative ease of a second playthrough is one of my favorite parts of Castlevania. Its challenges train you to become as proficient a vampire hunter as the Belmonts, and it's a leisurely 60 minutes or less if you're not dying all the time. But Death himself is a character here, and appropriately reaps as much as his name implies. He's the relative in that relative ease of a second playthrough, and his size acts as a wall between you and Dracula if you don't know his tricks. You can fight him the honest way with whip cracks and well-timed jumps, but you'd be doing a self-imposed hard mode. Death is here to test your usage of sub-weapons, and some skilled cross-throwing, or some really cheesy holy water spam, are reliable answers to the scythe question. That's not even an inference. A mentee of series creator Hitoshi Akamatsu confirmed it a few years back via Twitter. What makes Death stick out is the hallway preceding him. Using sub-weapons is easier said than done thanks to the fact that they're dropped when you die, and the hallway to Death is a bastard. A combination of Medusa heads and axe-throwing knights give you two independent projectiles to dodge simultaneously, each with different trajectories and speeds. It makes for a noteworthy sequence rivaled only by the final showdown with Dracula, but the latter is checkpointed in such a way that it doesn't feel as hard. The staircase that brings you to the final room is both a checkpoint and technically the start of a new level, allowing for retries that persist even after you run out of lives. The candles that surround Dracula's coffin reliably bring your whip back to max power, and give you a choice of offensive sub-weapon, the cross or the holy water. It's a forgiving structure that allows for Dracula to be hard but not punitive, and the fight benefits from it. Phase 1 demands precise timing. He's immune except for when casting his spell, which gives you a small window to attack his head. The path his spell projectiles follow requires you to master Castlevania's signature mechanic, the stiff, no mid-air correction jump. A sequence of perfect jumps, alongside perfectly timed whips to the head, will satisfyingly lop that head off, beginning the second phase. Dracula's health refills as his form becomes monstrous, but his extra bulk is offset by his weakness to holy water spam. Keep him in place with holy water and relentlessly aggress with attacks to the head. The vampire will fall, and so will his titular castle. The game is a satisfying challenge to overcome, and its brief 6 levels make it super compelling to replay. It only takes a small chunk out of an afternoon, and an arcadey second loop is waiting for you if you want an additional playthrough to start immediately. There's a feeling of completeness that Castlevania instills you with. The giant bat, who's the boss of level 1, is just a regular rank-and-file monster in the game's final levels. The early game projectiles you may have once considered difficult are easy when contrasted against the final fight's projectiles. Its challenges are an escalation of difficulty so smooth you almost never see them, and its credits feel like a graduation ceremony celebrating your skill. It's a wonderful little game that's worth playing for its own sake, not just due to its role as the first game in a long-running franchise. Castlevania is to games what Bram Stoker's Dracula is to novels, an old but timeless classic with an indisputable place in its medium's canon.